Hi everybody, I'm so excited to do a little InDesign work with you today. If you're brand new to InDesign, that's totally fine. In fact, that's ideal because I'm going to sort of start at a beginner pace. So what I've done so far is I've opened the InDesign program, and you can do this in one of three ways. First, if you have the Adobe Creative Cloud on your computer, you can just open an InDesign file. Second, you can use one of the computers on campus that have InDesign and are open to your use. Those include the computers at both digital studios in Williams and Johnston, and then also a few computers on in Strozier. But you'll have to ask the research librarians which computers have Adobe InDesign. I'm not quite sure which ones since they did that remodel last year. And then finally, you can use the FSU Virtual Lab. The Virtual Lab is great. It auto-saves. It works pretty well. Its one drawback is it can be glitchy when too many people are on it at once. But if you're like a midnight writer, then the Virtual Lab should be pretty good for you. I would hope that at 1 or 2 in the morning, there aren't going to be tons of you on, unless you're all midnight writers. Beside the point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and begin by creating a new document. And the window that'll pop up will allow me to choose my size. So what do I want the size of my document to be? I'm going to go ahead and just put it back in inches. How I want my pages to be oriented. So do I want a portrait or a landscape? How many pages I want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll start with 3. If I want them to be facing, and facing means like a book or like a magazine. Do I want to pre-program columns? And what do I want my margins set at? So I'll go ahead and I'll create. And as you can see, I have my page, my first page, and then my facing pages. So I'm going to start by adding a title. And I'll do that by going over to this left-hand side list of tools. And these tools are one of 3 spaces we'll be working in today. So these allow you to add different things to the document. So to add text, I'm going to go ahead and select my text type tool. The other section of tools that we'll be working with today are along the top of your window. And these will personalize depending on the tool that you want to use. So right now I'm in the text type tool, and you can see this top area is allowing me to personalize my paragraph. How do I want my paragraph to be aligned? Do I want to add shading? Do I want to add columns? And then I can also personalize my text at the letter level. So what font do I want it to be in? Go ahead and I'll select a font. How do I want that font formatted? What size do I want that font to be? So on and so forth. But if I were to change this tool, choose the shape tool, now this top area is allowing me to choose the color that I want my shape to be, how large I want the border of my shape to be, what style I want that border to be in, and how I want text to interact with my shape. So this top part is going to personalize. The third area that I'm going to be using is this sort of hidden set of windows that you'll find up here. So as I said before, I'm going to start by adding my text box. I'm going to choose a large font size because I want this to serve as my title. Now, if you notice, my text box is too small, but I actually can't resize it with this text tool because all this text tool can do is add text boxes. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to select this black arrow. And these black and white arrows will sort of serve as a home base for you. You're going to continually return and use them. So I'll do that and I'll resize. Oh, you know what? I don't like that font style. So to change it, I'm going to highlight it. Choose something with a little bit more flair. I'll also center align it. And then I'll just drag it so it's centered on my page. And one nice thing about Adobe InDesign is it does have that alignment guidance. Now you're going to see a blue box around it, but don't worry, those blue boxes will disappear, as will my margin guiding lines. They're just meant to help you visualize the grid aspect of design. So now that I have my title, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add page numbers. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, so you're going to want to pay attention. I'm going to go ahead and go to pages. I right now have pages over here, but I suspect it's because I use pages a lot. If you don't see pages, you can just go to Window and select Pages. Now what's going to come up is your master page. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that. And I'm going to add my page number, but I'm going to do it in a specific way. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Type, and I'm going to insert a special character. That character is going to be a marker. It is going to be the current page number. And I can go ahead and I can format it how I want. I can make the box as large as I want it to be. And I can place the box where I want. I want it, again, just to be centered. And you're going to see an A, but that's okay. That's actually what we want to see. And then I'll go ahead and I'll leave this pages function. So you can see right now, you can see my number. This is going to be page 1, page 2, and page 3. So I'm going to go back to my page 1 now. And we can see that we've added those pages. We can see those on our pages now. So now what I want to do is I want to add an image. So to do that, I'll go over to this framing tool. And if I right click, I can choose what design I want my frame to be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll select a rectangle frame and I'll draw it out. Now I'm going to see this X, and this X, it represents where my image will be. To add it, I'll go to File and I'll select Place. And I'll just scroll down and select an image. Now my image won't naturally be sized. To do that, I'll right click, I'll select Fitting, and I'll ask InDesign to fit my content to my frame. Again, however, if I want to manipulate that, I need to go back to my arrow. And if you notice, right, you're seeing two colors of outlines. You're seeing this blue and this orange. So the blue represents the frame that I added, but the orange represents the image itself. And I'll get that to where I want it. I want it to be centered on the page. So now I want to make sure that this image is accessible to individuals who cannot see it, who are using a screen reader. To do that, I'll go to Object. I'll select Object Export Options. I can also do Caption, but I actually don't want the caption to appear on my page. I just want individuals with a screen reader to be able to read this object. I'll select Alternative Text, and I'll say that I'm going to be customizing that text. And then I'll hit done. Now, if you notice, I can't see that alternative text on my image. Once I export this as a PDF, I'll be able to see it when I hover over the image, but an individual with a screen reader will be able to see the image, and that's what really matters. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the body of my article. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that now. I did not write an article for you all. I'm very sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and fill this with placeholder text. So I'm going to right click and I'll select fill with placeholder text. Ooh, but not that style of text. I'll just really make sure it's filled. So the placeholder text will allow me to just see what my design is going to be, but when you attempt to actually read it, it just looks like a bunch of jibber jabber, some Latin genius for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll duplicate that because I want 2 columns. Make sure that they're aligned. Oh, it's also worth mentioning the commands that you use on your Mac and on your PC will actually work for the most part in InDesign. And what I mean by that is if you wanted to copy this column of text over, which I just did, you can Control-C and Control-V. If you mess up something and you want to undo it, you can Control-Z or like Command-V. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and redo that though. The only commands that I've found that won't work are the text formatting commands. So like Control-B for bold will not help you out. And that's because you're going to have to actually go up here and you'll select the style that way. So I'll make this word bold. There you go. Beautiful. So now that I've added my text, I want to ensure that my image is going to be seen. So I'll ask that the text interacts with that image in a different way. So I can have it closely wrap, I can have it wrap at the top and the bottom, or I can have it wrap around that square frame. And that's the option that I'm going to choose. And right, to give myself a little bit more space, I can just make my frame a little bit larger. Okay, so I have my image, I have my text, I have my page number. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the first letter of my feature large. And we see this a lot with old style type and then sometimes still with novels. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and go to the paragraph feature. And I'm going to say that I want my, my first letter to be larger. And then I can choose how large I want it to be. I think a 2 is pretty good. The last thing that I'm going to show you in this introduction is how to add a hyperlink. Again, I'm not going to show you everything. This is just meant to get your feet wet, to give you enough information so that you can kind of get started and start to play. So to add a hyperlink, I'll highlight where I want that hyperlink to go. I'll right click and I'll select hyperlink. And I'll say I want it to be a new hyperlink. I'm going to send them to google.com. So there we have it, the beginning of a feature article. So what I'm going to do finally is I'll export my image. So I'll go to File and I'll go to Export. And I'll say that I actually want this to be a PDF. and I'll save it. Now this page will come up. It'll ask, do I want to export all pages? I actually just want to export the first page. I want to export it as a page. I want the layout to be a single page. I want it to preview it in PDF, so it's going to show me. I want to include my hyperlinks and my non-printing objects, and I'll export. So here we go. Here's my feature article. I've got my link. It's going to take me to google.com. I've got my descriptive text, which you can see when I hover over my image, and I have some of my formatting. Again, this was just meant to be a very basic intro. Please play with InDesign. Playing is how we learn technologies. There's also an amazing set of resources on the InDesign website. Google has so much information. The more you play with this, the more that you will learn. Thank you, and have a great night.